Hello, hello, hi. I am Spantopia Rosé, but you can call me Span. How are you? Today I thought we could read a Tooth Fairy, a Shirley Barber book. It's called The Tooth Fairy with Your Very Own Velvet Tooth Pouch. And that is the pouch that I would put my teeth in, under my pillow, when my teeth fell out when I was a kid. But it is a little red velvet pouch, which goes in here, which I managed to keep in this little plastic compartment, which is kind of awesome. Oop. I didn't get lost. Alright. So, The Tooth Fairy, written and illustrated by Shirley Barber. Tom had a loose tooth. It fell out while he and his sister Holly were playing in the garden. "Don't lose it," said Holly. "We'll put it in your special tooth pouch. Then tonight we'll wait for the Tooth Fairy to come and collect it." So Tom put the tooth in his pocket, but when he looked for it at tea time, it had vanished. After tea, Tom and Holly took a torch and went into the garden to search for the lost tooth, but it was nowhere to be found. Tired and disappointed, they went to bed. "Now we'll never see the Tooth Fairy," sighed Holly. "Last time when I lost a tooth, I tried so hard to stay awake, but I couldn't. The Tooth Fairy took my tooth, left some money behind, and was gone. I didn't see a thing." That night, the children slept soundly. Just as the sun was rising, Tom was woken by a tinkling in the kitchen. He tiptoed in and saw the Tooth Fairy sitting on the windowsill. "Tom," she said softly, "you must search for your missing tooth. It's very important indeed. If you and Holly can find it, I promise to show you my home in the clouds and tell you why I need your tooth." So Tom woke up Holly, and together they ran out into the garden. Frantically they searched for the missing tooth. At last they found it, shining white amongst the daisies. "Hooray!" laughed the Tooth Fairy. "Now I'll take you to the Cloudland, just as I promised." She waved her magic wand, and suddenly Holly and Tom were as small as the Tooth Fairy. But before they had time to be surprised, she waved her wand again, and white doves began to swoop down from the trees. They had golden bridles and red velvet saddles. "Jump on, Holly," cried Tom. "We're going for a ride up in the sky." The white doves flew high into the pink dawn sky, where amongst the clouds lay a magical land with hills as soft as cotton wool. They landed beside a beautiful palace, surrounded by gardens full of the strangest plants the children had ever seen. There were silver stars growing like flowers intended by pixie gardeners, and moored by a cloud was a boat with rainbow sails. "Now Holly and Tom," said the Tooth Fairy, "the stars in the sky eventually grow old and fall down, and the fairies must replace them. New stars grow from special star seeds, which are children's baby teeth. That is why when a child's tooth drops out, I come down and collect it." "But why is my tooth so important?" asked Tom. "Well," said the Tooth Fairy, "most stars in the sky are silver, but here and there you can see gold ones." Now your teeth are very special, Tom, because they will grow into golden stars, and we know an old golden star will fall very soon, and we will need to be replaced. Look, cried Holly, a golden star is falling right now. Come, children, said the Tooth Fairy, taking their hands. It's time to replace the old golden star. We must hurry and plant Tom's tooth in the sky. A silver boat was moored not far from the house. The Tooth Fairy and the children climbed aboard, and together they set sail into the sky, until they reached the place where the golden star had been. Please, may I plant my own tooth? Asked Tom. Of course, said the Tooth Fairy, and she showed Tom what to do. The silver boat sailed back to Cloudland, and the Tooth Fairy and the children jumped out onto the clouds. Soon you must go home, said the Tooth Fairy, but first come into my house and have some breakfast. A bell tinkled, and all the pixie gardeners came scampering inside to join them. They all had breakfast together. Then the Tooth Fairy waved her magic wand, and Tom found he was back in his own bed. Holly came running into his room. Tom, she said excitedly, did we really see the Tooth Fairy last night? Or was it a dream? It's true, laughed Tom. The Tooth Fairy took us with her to Cloudland. That night, Tom and Holly searched the sky for a glittering new golden star. Look, cried Tom at last. There it is. That's the one I planted, my very own golden star. The end. And that is the story of the Tooth Fairy. Well, it's this particular story of the Tooth Fairy. Would you like to look at the images? Do a little replay, page by page. I really enjoy the images and the continuity of the fact that they have a cat and just little details. It's so beautiful. Here he is with the star in Cloudland. The tooth seed, star seed tooth. And here they are watching and planting. And here they are looking at the star that he had planted last night. And that's it. The Tooth Fairy written and illustrated by Shirley Barber. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. It was a little bit nostalgic. Not as much as A Visit to Fairyland, but still very good. Very, very good indeed. Alright. I hope that you're nice and calm and relaxed, and that you have a good night. Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Good night, sleep well, good night, sleep well, good night, sleep well.